like Esports Insider. You know I do. You know I've got lots of respect for any publications that like make it. Right? They were talking about esports as well, and it just made me laugh. Everyone's finally caught up to Richard Lewis. Again, remember, end of 2020, I'm telling everyone, it's doom, it's gloom, the market correction's coming. It's not even about COVID. We just got fundamental problems. I just did my start of the year esports gospel. Banger episode. If you haven't listened to it, it's 1 hour. I promise you won't regret it. It's probably the best esports gospel I've recorded. I was fully fired up, sober, clean, just running on like, just fucking vitriol. Really good, in my opinion. And it's right. It's accurate. It's a totally real take on where we are right now as an industry using real life examples, right? And it's super important that we don't, because you're going to hear lots of bullshit, because it's going to be a rough year. It was always going to be a rough year. We were always getting to this point, but people are going to inject it with this fake fucking optimism and all of this other stuff, because if you tell the truth, the bags of money just fly out the window. Well, I never gave a fuck about money. Told you, die hungry, die in the streets. Don't give a shit. It's fine. Can't hurt me. I came from nothing. If you come from nothing, you have no qualms about going back to nothing. It's a superpower. I'm okay with it. So at the end of the day, I don't really give a fuck about that stuff. I'll tell you what's going on in the industry, and it's this. We've got all the same problems we had back in 2001. We just kept lying and saying we'd solved it for over 20 years. That's the truth. So it made me laugh. I was reading this report from Esports Insider. It was literally done. Brand new year. They do this every year. And by the way, this is, like I said, this isn't, I'm not digging out Esports Insider here. They interview esports luminaries at the start of every new year, and they ask them what's going to happen, what are your predictions, what's good, what's bad, blah, blah, what would you change? Questions like that. Now, interestingly enough, I never get asked. Imagine what it's like to have 2 decades of expertise and no one ever asks your opinion, because they go, we need some experienced people to give their opinions about this. Any ideas? Oh, Richard Lewis has been around a while. Nah, it can't be him. Why not? Yeah, it's just, it can't be. No, it can't be. It has to be someone else. No one wants to hear the truth. No one does. It's a deeply unpopular thing, isn't it? It's the worst. It's the worst thing you can do is tell people how it is. No one wants it, but I'm just wired like that. So, 2023 is officially upon us. To inaugurate the year, we asked industry leaders, and I can't even get involved. Come on, I'm a leader. Come on. I lead the rich chord. I lead the rich chord through thick and thin. But anyway, we asked industry leaders to make predictions on the year ahead, both for their companies and the industry at large. In past editions, bold predictions have been laid down, such as Tundra Esports aiming to win the international. Spoiler, it did. Below, you'll find widespread agreement and divergence on everything from the challenges of the macroeconomic environment, the scenes to watch in 2023, and what needs to change in the industry this year. Read on for optimism, pessimism, and hot takes regarding the industry's direction for 2023. So, I'm going to take you through all of these and see what we think. We can collectively assess whether or not we feel these are accurate. Just before we do get into these, I do want to let you know that I'm going to do a year in review for 2022 myself. I don't know what form it's going to take. I toyed with the idea of bringing back the Gonzo Awards, but the problem is they haven't been done for so many years. Would people even get the joke at this point? Would people even understand? Also, you reference why the French were the worst fans in esports in 2013. Does anyone even remember why that is or care as to why that might be? So I was weighing that up. He's weighing it up. Dead man's shoes. But instead, I've decided I'm going to write an article in and of itself, just a singular article, and it's going to be called 2022 Year of the Scumbag, right? That's it. That's going to be my year of review. 2022 Year of the Scumbags. Keep an eye out for that one. Anyway, let's get in. These people aren't scumbags. These are industry leaders. So let's have a look who they've been talking to and what they've been asking them. The end of last year was a tough time for many companies with job cuts and company closures across the board. We asked stakeholders how the industry's trajectory will change over the next 12 months. Now, Stuart Saw, you know him as Tosspot. He's now the CEO and co-founder of RTS, a talent agency. What does he have to say? We all like Tosspot, right? With the upcoming recession, we're going to see a lot of challenges to the current esports business model. I was around in the last recession. Oh, he was, and so was I. And it was brutal. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It was. Whilst we're fortunately in a far better position than we were last time, debatable, we will see most organisations attempt to build runways to see them through upcoming economic challenges, i.e., taking on debt. Now, I disagree with my good friend Tosspot there. He says we're in a better position now than we were last time. On the one hand, there was less money when we had our last recession in 2008, predicated by the global subprime mortgage crisis caused by the bankers that we then bailed out as taxpayers and got nothing for. Save that for another time. But because there was less money, there was less debt, and there was less expectation. Now, we've got venture capitalists who've been funding unsustainable growth, where there's no revenue streams for years now, for a few years. And you have to wonder that when the bubble pops this time, there are going to be some bubbles significantly bigger than others that are going to pop and fucking stay popped. So for some, it will be better. For others, it will be much, much worse. And I am relishing it all, of course. Josie Brown, the SVP of the Senior Vice President, I'll say the full titles, of Brand, Content and Marketing at Team Liquid. Slightly different view. I expect other organizations to continue growing and expanding their brands to the point where they can exist independently of the games we might primarily associate with them. Team Liquid is so much more than one or two teams in a circuit or league. We're a global organization that has a chance to define ourselves on our own terms, and that's a great place to be. You'll notice slightly different outlook there from one of these North American VC organizations. You'll notice that, but slightly different messaging there as we head into the recession. Grant Zinn, the CEO of Beast Coast. I think most organizations will be using 2023 as a time to focus on strategic growth. I apologize in advance, by the way. I probably should have given this a bullshit warning. There's going to be lots of jargon, lots of buzzwords. There's lots of that. Tosspot's one of the few people that keeps it real here. Anyway, yes, let's focus on strategic growth. As the era of VC-backed organizations monetizing only by jersey sponsorship becomes a thing of the past, we need to be creative and careful on how we expand to make sure our organizations and teams have longevity in this space. Unfortunately for Grant, he's kind of partially right. The time for that was before now. long before now. Trying to do it now is like, shutting the barn door after the horse has bolted, effectively. But still, heart in the right place, brain in the right place, just delayed a little bit. It's fine. Jerome Coupé, the CEO of the Prodigy Agency. I have squashed the beef with this gentleman, not necessarily based on anything other than I'm trying not to hold on to grudges, really. You shouldn't. But this guy did the whole, I've been blocked on Twitter, please unblock me, messaging me via mutual associates to get unblocked and all that stuff. I just hate that stuff. I shouldn't let it bother me. So I'm not letting it bother me in 2023. And, he's a talent agent. Some say one of the scourges on our industry. Others say doing right by the players can only be a good thing. So, you decide. There are lots of challenges, especially for teams, around developing their revenue streams and maximizing monetization. Again, much like the Riot segment before this, stop me, and stop yourself, but stop me if anyone that you might know or be subscribed to on Twitch has said this many, many times over many, many years. Yeah, we had to develop them revenue streams. It's almost like that was the whole thing. From start to finish, we had to develop them revenue streams, but we didn't, did we? And maximizing monetization. I really hope all teams succeed in doing this. Slight little bugbear there. You see, Jerome wants teams to develop their revenue streams and maximize their monetization in this end-of-year summary. What Jerome's being a little bit disingenuous about, and I'm sorry, Jerome, I know you watch my stuff, but You also got to take the medicine. Everyone does. No one's immune to that. What he doesn't explain is he's also an advocate for fighting for every last penny for his players, even to the point of them being massively overpaid. So... and has certainly negotiated some contracts that made my eyes fucking spin. So, kind of, a little bit contrary there, isn't it? But it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, whatever. A lot of games continue to grow with large audiences, allowing esports to grow globally, and it's not going to stop soon. Spoiler, it might. I just hope the whole industry can find ways to redistribute the revenue properly so all stakeholders can continue to grow and make it sustainable for everyone. Again, that there from a player agent that believes the most important stakeholder is the players, and they must get the bigger share of the pie, even though that makes no sense as things work. But anyway, Wouter Schleifers. I know Wouter. I knew him when he was Fnatic. Had lunch with Wouter. Met Wouter a few times. I like him. Good guy. He's now the CEO of Excel Esports, apparently. Times will remain challenging, which means that some businesses will have to merge. Some will not survive, unfortunately. That said, premium esports will see a further boost with more brands coming in as ways partners can benefit and continue to make a bigger impact. Women's competitions will see a big rise. Exclamation point for that one. I also predict further regulation and legislation that benefits talent. The term talent's pretty broad. I don't know exactly what Wouter means by that. Probably doesn't mean broadcast talent. Probably means all talent, anyone who is good at it, because good at a particular job, including players, because obviously, people get skinned alive in this industry, like Hopper from Predator. Hopper wasn't lost. He was skinned alive by an esports contract, because what happens in esports is you basically, sometimes you're working as a fucking contractor, and when you get fucking stuck working as a contractor, right? You get fucked on the money you get anyway. You get no benefits with the money you get anyway, and then you got to pay like 50% tax after the fact. A lot of people that end up working in esports think, because it's regular money, it's like being salaried, but you are being paid as a contractor. You've got the massive tax liability that of essentially being self-employed. None of the benefits or protections of an employee, but you are working, full-time employee hours and being on call 24/7 and being on demand. So yes, I certainly hope there's going to be more legislation. I certainly hope there's going to be more regulation. I won't hold my breath. I mean, from talking to law enforcement agencies and politicians down the years, not many of them have a handle on what esports is still to this day. They still ask questions. So, like video games? Yes, homie. Like video games. I mean, you saw it in these big tech hearings. You've got some fucking half dead, like Mumra the ever fucking whining, being wheeled out like Lorpan, big fucking trouble in Little China. One of them asked Jack Dorsey of Twitter why his Facebook page had been fucking censored. Brilliant. They're the people you're trying to explain esports to. You know what I mean? I want all my breath. That's 10 years away. Oh, we got to get lobbyists. We got to have money. And spoiler, we pissed all the money away. We pissed it all away on nothing. Nicholas Maurer, CEO of Team Vitality, in this difficult economy. What I always love is you can always tell the difference when, Americans are speaking about money and economy and growth and esports, and you can tell when Europeans are. It's like day and fucking night. Anyway, in this difficult economy, it's become more complicated to access capital on the market. And since esports teams have still not yet found the proper path to profitability, we must collectively learn how to solve the equation of doing better, but with fewer resources. That is why 2023 may be the age of maturity for esports organizations. And then it's like you listen to that quote and you go, oh, that's pretty fucking good, actually. That makes sense. You've just said something sensible, brilliant. And then it's like, now let's interview an American CEO of esports. Everything's going to be fine. Woo, hell yeah. Yeah, I got my paper. It's like, fuck me. It's just day and night. It's day and night. Everything's gonna be fine. I just had a sponsor meeting today, and I lied to them. I told them the Overwatch League was going to pay off big time. That was another 40 million in seed money. So that was their thoughts on the economy there. A nice little sprinkling of, everything's going to be okay, to actually now is the time for the industry to grow up. I know which camp I'm in. 2023 is here, and so are the new KPIs. If you don't know what a KPI is, first of all, congratulations. You've never worked a shit call center job. Second of all, it does just stand for Key Performance Indicator, which is stats. Stats we use to work you harder. The good thing about KPIs, I wrote a novel. It's unpublished. It was the sort of semi-autobiographical novel about working in a call center and being a manager in a call center, and how shit it is. And basically one of the things they do in these, they're called contact. Well, they're probably called something else now. But I was there when it was a call center, and then we paid a company. This company I work for, I won't say which one, but they paid hundreds of thousands for a company to basically come up with ideas to not be called call centers, because the term call center had a negative connotation, and they came back with the term contact center. And then that just proliferated throughout the industry. So they were call centers, and then it was like, no, contact, because what you're doing is when you have a problem, what do you want to do? You want to make contact with someone. You want to make contact. And then everyone was like, holy shit, they're calling themselves contact centers now. We have to do the same. So I was there at the great change. I was there at the great change when it went from call to contact center. But anyway, the problem with KPIs is this. A key performance indicator is a stat that they use to judge the effectiveness of your job. And so the management team drive the people who have key performance indicators, they themselves having a key performance indicator about how hard they drive you and how successful you are at hitting your stats. What they do is they push you to hit those stats, and you go, fucking hell. Well, all right, at least it's there in black and white. I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do. I hit my KPIs, I keep my job. Okay, we can work with that. But you can't work with that, because what starts happening is, if you hit your KPI week 1, KPIs week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, not your manager, but your manager's manager says, I wonder if these KPIs are too easy. And they pitch another set of KPIs, a more advanced and challenging but realistic set of KPIs. And they pitch them to their manager. And their manager goes, yes, certainly we have 90% of our staff achieving their KPIs. So we must put the KPIs up. So they put the stats up. And now you've done nothing wrong. You've done everything right, and you are penalized for it. This is the KPI madness. You are penalized for it. You go, wait, so we did so well at hitting our stats. Do we get a bonus? No. Your KPIs go up. Yeah, we're always recalibrating, actually. So what you'll find is that we'd really underestimated the KPIs. And plus, you're a much better team, and this will help show who's truly excellent and exceptional and who's just cruising. And then they pitch you all against yourselves and your fellow worker, and they say things like, there'll be development opportunities. No more fucking Orwellian term in an office or a call center than development opportunity. What's a development opportunity? A development opportunity means you take on more work for zero pay, so when a job interview comes around internally, they can tell you to go fuck yourself, you don't have the experience, and they can employ an external candidate for more money. And that's what they do. And so then you start doing, so then you hit your new KPIs. But guess what happens? Not everyone can keep up with the KPIs, because some people were really struggling to hit those old KPIs. And so, not your manager. Your manager has a team meeting with a manager, and then that manager goes to like the regional head, and they go, oh, our KPIs are down to fucking 70% now. I know we had like 92 before, but now we're down to like 71% of people hitting the KPIs. And they don't go, oh, well, that's because we put the KPIs up. Obviously, some people are going to get left behind. Just monitor it, like work on an individual basis. They go, oh my God, we need to clamp down. We need to clamp down on them. These lazy workers, these filthy, lazy workers that don't want to hit our new KPIs. How fucking dare they? Right, well, let's take away their perks and privileges. And then suddenly you're getting monitored every time you go for a smoke break, every time you go to the fucking bathroom, every time you go to the canteen, every time you spend 5 minutes having a conversation. Disciplinaries start getting handed out. Then you start getting handed down these weird little edicts from on high, like, no, you have to start managing this person out. They've been at 70% KPI now for 2 whole months. It's unacceptable. This is either a performance issue, in which case it's your job as a manager because you haven't trained them properly, or it's a behavioral issue and they simply don't want to do it, or they're too lazy. Either way, I want this person out the company, or it's your job. This is the KPI. I fucking hate this term, KPI. It's a fucking bane. It's a bane of anyone's existence. It's management by numbers. It's taking humanity and human capability and human performance, putting it into a bunch of boxes, and it's just simply there. It's a buck-passing exercise. It turns every little endeavor that you do in a business into shit, into garbage. Nothing to do with this article. You'll notice. Just got some fucking stuff left inside me from the other life. Just got some things left in there that I never really truly resolved in therapy. KPIs. You can enhance your life immediately. If you ever hear the term KPI in your job, start looking for another one. Simple as that. Don't want to sound like fucking a fat, ugly Andrew Tate. He's not even that good looking, but a fat, ugly Andrew Tate. Listen, Wagey, if you want to get real wealth, if you want to be a top G, you're in a job where they say KPIs, you've got to say, listen, I've got a KPI for you. Keep pussy in close proximity. That's what top G's believe. Have you got a Bugatti? Right, anyway, KPIs, they're not good for you, right? That's a W. We asked esports companies what their targets are for the coming year, and we summarised them below. Beast Coast, we're going to invest more into the grassroots scene, as well as community events around Melee, that's Smash, and Pokemon. Dunno. ESL Face It Group. Because they actually interviewed ESL. That's coming up in a bit. Support indie, AA, and AAA developers earlier in game development cycle and build out its position beyond gameplay. Oh no, I can decipher that. You see, it's what ESL already do. Right? They're just talking about doing it sooner. And what this means is you're a developer, you make a game, you're like, ooh, should we put some esports in it? Ooh, go on then. And then ESL come along once your game comes out or just before the game comes out, and they go, we would love to run a tournament for you. We will get machines to cast. That's how it used to work, right? Poor Alex back in the day. Alex was just their go-to guy for like any shit game. Yeah, Alex, yeah, I don't know what it's called. Let me have a look. Call of Juarez, I think. Yeah, they're doing an esports tournament for it. You're commentating it. I haven't even bloody played it. Doesn't matter, mate. You're a good-looking lad. You look like The Weeknd. Get in there. Cast the game, son. And that's how Machine used to fucking live. Like, that was his entire life. And that's what ESL do. They used to basically say to developers, you know what would be really good and help you grow and have longevity, blah, 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 have an esports. So now they're just talking about accelerating that process and doing it ahead of time. Excel Esports, they want to win titles. All right. And grow our fan base and develop beyond the core of esports. I don't know what that means. Good luck with those titles. The Prodigy Agency looks to expand its business into key regions, such as South Korea, creating opportunities for players to have long-term sustainability through multi-year structured deals, as well as increasing IP strategies. Good luck with that. Good luck with a non-South Korean agency having any impact in South Korea whatsoever. Kesper are going to make mincemeat out of you. But, you'll learn. Everyone learns. It's a mafia out there. Anyway, Team Liquid to be in the championship conversation in every game it competes in, while also continuing to build a joint identity in order to earn more fan heart share. Now listen, I'm a smart guy. I don't know if you know this, but my dad was a chess champion. Used to burn thousands of calories while he was playing chess. And I must have inherited some of his inherent genius. because, obviously I know about things like KPIs and how it all works and all of that stuff. Gotta say, heart share, that's a new one. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm going to Google it. Let's learn together. Let's learn together. It's a Richard Lewis stream. Let's learn together. Heart share. Okay, it's immediately linked me to a website. Heart Share Human Services of New York, that nurtures and empowers children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So, it's not that. Try this. Oh, here we go. It's on Investopedia. Here we go. So, Investopedia says, heart share, similar to mind share or share of heart, is the message-driven focus of creating emotional engagement with consumers rather than simply focusing entirely on market share. So heart share, that's what that means. Obviously now you understand why they've been so committed to, really taking a stand for LGBT rights by entering into a business partnership with entities that totally respect LGBT rights. It's all about that. Heart share, there you go. I'm like Gareth Bale, he's retired. He's playing golf. Team Vitality wants to celebrate its 10th anniversary, win every single competition. LEC, VCT, the CSGO Major Trophy in Paris. Lol. Good luck with that. And get fans using its VHive mobile app. Should we have a look at VHive? What's VHive? Well, according to this, it's a hair salon. Oh, no, here we go. On the Vitality website. Yes. VHive by Team Vitality. Let's have a little look at what VHive is. Hello, VHive. Here we go. VHive by Team Vitality. 400 meters squared in the heart of Paris, dedicated to esports and Team Vitality. You can now see the bee shining through the windows of our HQ, in addition to the housing offices of the Team Vitality team. VHive shelters a cyber cafe, a cafe and a shop. V-Play to share together. V-Caf, because it is a living space, a coffee area has been built for people to have a breather. The V-Shop and the V-Boot Camp. There it is. This has simply never been done before in the history of esports. Well done. The Story Mob. The Story Mob is a PR firm that operates on a freelance basis. They represent clients and help not just do things from disseminating press releases, but also plant stories and puff pieces if you need it. Let's say, for example, you did a silly little thing, and now you have to apologize. Story Mob will do the messaging around that. Let's also say, you want to raise your profile, and you've got to, maybe you don't really know how to do it. They'll come up with a cool little angle and a cool little hook, and they'll go and do it. One of the people that founded the Story Mob used to be the press officer at Riot Games. The same press officer that had a security guard follow me around at the All-Stars Paris event and try and wrestle my camera off me because I did a walk around tour and accidentally filmed the production room as I scanned the camera. Treasured memories. Anyway, the Story Mob, growth, they say. Continuing to bolster its operations, build on what's achieved in 2022, and explore expansion. Tundra Esports want to be back-to-back winners of the International, plus the challenge in other major titles, and create more content around its ambassadors. So much. So, yawn. What does the industry need to do differently in 2023? Well, Richard's got some ideas about that one, hasn't he, ladies and gentlemen? But let's just see what the other people have to say. The other adults in the room, the other industry leaders. In fact, they're industry leaders. I'm not an industry leader. I'm just a lowly peon. I'm only a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. What the fuck would I know about what's good for this industry at all? So, Jerome, again, says, of the Prodigy Agency, says, I think the main challenge for everyone is to keep developing ways to monetize. Yes, we know. But he stipulates, he says, monetize the incredible audiences and fan base being built in esports. You've got to always pander to the fans, even though they're the dickheads that don't pay any money, and that's why we're all fucking broke in the first place. Because we have to serve the esports fan everything they want and give it to them for free, and somehow we just hope somewhere down the line that won't become the norm, and graciously out of the kindness of their heart they'll go, you know what, you want to run a pay-per-view event? I absolutely will pay this time, you're right. But he wants to do it by providing true meaningful products and content. There is still a lot we can do for esports to keep growing, and I truly think we have some of the most innovative minds working in our industry. They are so innovative. We're so innovative. That's why we've had 20 years pushing this fucking... It's not even a boulder. It's like a fucking big ball of shit. And everyone who worked in esports was part of a giant, like, Voltron dung beetle just pushing this ball of shit around. You know, it should be easy. We've got a desirable product for a desirable demographic that's grown in popularity year upon year. We should have been able to make some money off this. I don't know. It's almost like we waste it all. I don't know. Evgeny Roshupkin, the CEO of Tundra Esports. I like to see esports breaking into mainstream streaming services. The rivalries, competitions, and player stories are sometimes even more exciting than in sports, while content and production capabilities in the esports top-notch. In general, rights commercialization would be one of the main opportunities for esports businesses to scale successfully in the coming years. Obviously, ignoring the fact that we have done that time and time and time again, and it doesn't go anywhere because the audience isn't big enough. Like I say, when you consider E-League was the biggest thing in esports at the time in 2016, and I remember, again, I can talk about all this stuff now, I'm totally fine with it. I remember when we did our first E-League taping, right? Super vivid to me. We were talking about what our expectations were going in, and basically all the Turner executives, they said... It's not about ratings, don't worry. But then they always added something, you know, and it's like if I said to you, you know, oh yeah, you know, you look really good, but, you know, it's like there was always a little caveat. There was always a little extra bit. So they said to us they didn't care about ratings, right? But they would always add this additional thing. They said it's not about ratings, but we'd really like to see a 0.4 or a 0.5. Which basically in TV terms, like a 0.4 is like 400,000 people watching. Like, you know, that's, you know, when they do the Nielsen ratings, we'd like to see a 0.4 or a 0.5. 0.5 being, you know, 500,000. And they were like, then we'll really know we've got something that we can build on. That was it. That was said to me, you know, repeatedly by multiple executives. Anyway, we did the taping. First ever show, probably a little bit rusty. I was super fucking nervous, I don't mind saying it. I was like, sweat was pouring off me, man. You know, I was on like live TV, like one mistake, you look a fool. It's a new thing. It's American TV. You've got all standards and practices to worry about. Everybody was there. All the executives were there in the audience. Everybody was watching. So I was like shitting my pants. I'd also done this weird thing, which I never really talked about. One mentally ill Redditor used to talk about it all the time. Said it was proof that I can't be trusted. But I started taking elocution lessons to get an American accent when I first moved to America. Because I thought I was so worried about this accent that I thought they wouldn't understand me. And it wouldn't be good enough for American TV. So I like started taking like elocution lessons from a speech coach, and fucking I had this mad, like, for the first like 4 episodes until I just stopped doing it. I had this like weird American fucking southern drawl because they were from Georgia on top of it. So I wasn't even just learning an American accent. I was fucking learning to speak like a fucking person from Atlanta, Georgia, you know? And you can go back and watch it. It's too late now. I did it. It's there forever. But no one really noticed or pulled my card on it except this one Redditor who used to post all the time. Going, yeah, you don't remember. When he was in E-League, he was a completely different person. He faked his accent. If you can fake an accent, you can fake a journalistic report. That was like, this person posted that like non-stop for about 2 years. I don't know where they are now, hopefully a hospital. So anyway, we did the show. I was like, fuck, I like sank to my knees. I had a little bit of a cry, like just fucking deep breaths, marshaled myself for the troops, dry the eyes, went in the green room, hugs all around, we're all loving each other, all still mates at this point. Of course, that wouldn't last. I said to the executives, like, do you know how we did? Meaning, you know, when will we get the ratings? And they said, oh no, Richard, it doesn't work like, you know, when you're on stream. We don't get it instantly. You get it overnight. But what you can do is there's 2 types of Nielsen rating. You get the standard one that just comes at the regular time at the start of business, or you can get what we call the overnights, which are the ones that are early. You know, the Nielsen ratings, you get them at like, I don't know, between 4 and 6 a.m. or something before the working day starts. And they said they'd ordered them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go get a drink with the guys. And then can I come back and can we see the overnights together? And remember, I wasn't a freelancer. I worked for Turner. Like, I was a full-blown Turner Sports employee. And so they said, yeah, fucking sure. We're all going to sit up until they come in. And I was like, right. So I went to the W Hotel in Atlanta, which was the one where, you know, Nico's card stopped working and everyone nearly got thrown out and all of the hilarious player incidents we had there. It was also the one where we ended up smoking a blunt with one of those guys who believes in fucking Yakub. The what are they called? The 3%ers or whatever? I can't even remember. The bar just ran onto the streets. It was elevated, but it was like a patio. So the bar was here, patio was here, and people from the streets just used to walk in and sit down. You know, they'd even bring their own liquor in and just hope there was no security on, and they'd sit down in the W. And this guy came in, he was he had a big hat and dreads, and he came in and he was like hanging around with us. I can't remember who was there. I think it was like me, Thorin, and Semler, obviously. And we like said, no. Because he was like, you know, he was going, you white devils have a lot of strange accents and all this. And I just thought it was funny, you know. I was like, this is hilarious. And he obviously had weed. So we were like, listen, you come down and we're not from America. Obviously Semler is, but, you know, I was like, me and my friend here were from like from England. So what do you mean? What's all this stuff? And so he sat down and he was passing this unbelievably raw blunt around. We were just smoking it in this fucking hotel on the lobby, hoping no one notices. And he just basically told us all about Yakub, the scientist. It's literally, I know I've talked about it on stream before. This was my first experience with Yakubian science, you know. And so anyway, I was like, yeah, fuck them white devils. Smoking weed with this guy. Yeah, Yakub fucked up big time, homie. You know, he was like, yeah, that's right. We ended up having this like super pleasant conversation with a 3%er. Like, it was fucking wild as fuck. Anyway, that was the type of shit that was going on in that hotel. So I went down, stayed and had a fucking stayed and had a drink overnight there, you know, basically, but I've got to go back. I said I'd wait and get the dailies in, and all the guys, you know, they were hella lit, and they were like, oh, text us, and I said, yeah, I will, I'll totally text you, and obviously they all like just blacked out or whatever, they were just smashed, you know, but they were like, yeah, Rich, text us the dailies, and I went, yeah, I'll go back. So I got in the car and went back to the fucking, went back to the office. The dailies come in, remember, the whole thing was ratings don't matter, but I'd really like to see a 0.4. Okay. And so the ratings had come in, and I got there a little bit late. They'd obviously arrived. Everyone's kind of a bit quiet, and there was like this office. There was an office behind an office. Like, it was like a secret wall. You went in, and it was like clearly where the executives went when, like, if they ever had to be on the floor when they were taping. So it was like big, comfy, like luxurious leather armchairs. It smelled super nice in there. There was like a decanter on the desk. There was like a fridge full of booze. There was like a little, you know, drinks, you know, like optics. You can pour yourself a drink and all that stuff. And I went in there and I was like, oh yeah, so yeah. They went, oh, Rich, you came back. I went, yeah. So we celebrating then? And they said, not exactly. So we're off to a great fucking start. Not exactly. Oh, why not? And they went, well, we hit a 0.2. And I was like, oh, okay. And they went, oh, but no. And like, what I don't even think it was a 0.2. I think for like the first episode, it was something stupid. Like, I think we were below 200,000 viewers. And so I knew then, and they knew that it was going to be a long fucking road. It was going to be hard. It was going to be difficult. And that was why, you remember, we used to come out on the big desk, like, and it used to fucking move around and all that. I think it cost, I think to have that desk, the hydraulics on the desk, Cost like an additional 10 grand a show. So we got rid of that immediately. We had an auto queue for the first 4 shows. And I was like, listen, guys, I'll just memorize my shit. I don't like using the auto queue anyway. I'll just memorize everything. And they're going, memorize stuff? Like, what do you mean, memorize? I went, I'll memorize the full run of show. I'll have cue cards and I'll do it all. And I don't need the auto queue. Because to have the auto queue, you have to employ somebody to run the auto queue. You got to employ someone at production to type up everything that you need that needs to be said. You have to read it. I said, I'll only need that for like specific stuff. So don't worry about it. Get rid of that. So that saved us some money as well. But immediately, even in season 1, we were making cutbacks. Because it was like, we were basically... E-League was the peak. Like, that period of time, 2016, like 2018, that's the peak of esports. But unfortunately, we were still too ahead of our time, or is the moral of that story. Anyway, back to Josie Brown from Team Liquid. For me, watching our women's Brazilian Valorant team thrive this year just reinforced how much more can be done to support women in esports. Certainly in certain countries, maybe not in all the countries. That are interested in esports. But you do you, Team Liquid. I want to continue and grow Team Liquid's leadership presence here, empowering female pros and content creators to reach new heights. Hopefully the industry will follow suit. And then, speaking of Saudi Arabia, Brian Ward, the CEO of the Savvy Games Group. You remember Brian Ward? You remember him? Brian Ward is the person who did that legendary interview when ESL were bought by Savvy Gaming Group. And he's the one who said, no, we're not really owned by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. We've got a board. It's just that the only member of the board is the Public Investment Fund. And the chairman of the board is the Crown Prince. And then he even said, listen, he said, I've got 2 daughters, and I wouldn't partner with anyone that would infringe upon their rights, except you did. Don't think they'll be driving an Uber in Riyadh anytime soon. Let's put it that way, yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Anyway, that's Brian Ward, just to refresh your memory. Brian Ward, the CEO of the Savvy Games Group, said there's room to improve the experiences and how esports are broadcast, enough to eventually bring them up to the same level of popularity as Formula 1 or football. It's like that meme, isn't it, with the dog? Oh no, it's bad word on Twitch. Well, dude, we've heard this before. We were saying this in 2006. You're never getting close to football. Come on. You're never getting close to football. For fuck's sake, not even football can get close to football. I'm talking about American football there and soccer, obviously. You know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And by the way, Formula 1 would have been a realistic and attainable goal a few years ago. But guess what happened? Formula 1, well, they did pair up with all the same evil people that you did. But that aside, Formula 1 also were like, we've got this really, like, difficult to understand sport with loads of technical aspects to it. I don't know. Maybe we should, like, really focus on content and personalities and make it accessible. And here's a super sick documentary, Drive to Survive. Everyone's seen that shit. I can't stand fucking Formula 1, but I could sit down and watch an episode of that. Formula 1's just fucking cars going round in circles. I used to live near the A19. I don't ever want to see cars going round in circles again. Thank you very much. Reference there to people from the Northeast. You all know what I'm talking about. The sector, understandably, has a special appeal, mainly for the ever-growing audience of gamers or fans of specific competitive games, and we need to broaden that appeal more generally. Accessibility to live or broadcasted esports matches is part of the issue when it comes to appealing to a wider audience. So we can now say Brian Ward is just a relic of a bygone era and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I've never heard such nonsense. Accessibility to live esports matches is the issue. Yeah, that's the problem. I can't get them. That's the problem. They're nowhere to be found. I just don't have fucking access. It's fucking free. It's on Twitch. It's on fucking YouTube. And in some rare instances, it's on shit like ESPN and Amazon. It's fucking everywhere. It's on demand. It's on my phone. It's on my PC. It's on my tablet. It's on my laptop. The problem's accessibility, is it, homie? That's the problem. Oh, I just can't find the esports. Where is it? Won't somebody direct me to the esports? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Accessibility's the issue. Fuck me. One title has captured almost everyone's imagination going into 2023 for obvious reasons. But there were also unexpected answers among the fray. So I'm guessing this means they asked them, like, you know, what's the best title or whatever, or the title you're most excited about. Miles Yim from the Story Mob. Don't know Miles. It's Valorant. Measuredly optimistic that the resources generated by franchising, including the linking of international ecosystems in VCT Americas, EMEA, and APAC, will spur viewership growth and create compelling storylines that will engage more fans. And of course, obviously, it's not really franchising, it is just a partnered league, but, you know, split the difference, same thing, whatever. Tosspot says 2023 and 2024 will be the year of the FGC. We're gonna try and fucking give those chuckleheads another go, are we? Are you fucking serious? You can't even give these guys a fucking TV show. They are so developmentally stunted in the FGC. Look, I'll explain the mindset again for the millionth time. Here's the problem with the FGC. In a normal esport, right, a scrub doesn't care that a pro player gets invited to a tournament and gets to eat and gets to have a salary and gets to be sponsored. They don't care. Why would you care? It doesn't affect you. You're a scrub. You get good enough, you can have some of that. You get knocking on the door of being good enough, you can have a little bit of that, right? No other esport is held back by the scrubs. You're at the very bottom of the pyramid. You might be a part of the economic reason the esport can exist, but we absolutely do not tailor the esport around you. Do you know why? You're a fucking scrub. You don't matter. Then we look over at the FGC, where scrubs are the most important people in the scene. Oh, Richard, but you exaggerate. No, you can't even have invite tournaments in the FGC. Actually, no. Support your locals. No, what? Like, what? Just 16 people just get invited to a tournament for money? This is the death of the FGC. And then it's like, and actually, fuck esports. Fuck all your esports. And then when an award's being given out, you want to be part of esports. You want to be recognised by the esports awards. You want Sonic Fox up there wearing a fucking blue wolf's head. You know, like, you love all that shit, right? You love being part of it when it can, like, shine a little bit of light on you and you can be like, woo. But then you actually cunt off esports 95% of the fucking time, right? So they're ridiculous. And it all boils down to this. The average FGC tournament looks like this. It is 300 and whatever it is, like 328 or whatever. I don't even know the exact number. Some insane bracket, right? Where every dog shit player in the world, every scrub can turn up and play anyone else. Do we do seedings? Probably not. But even if we do, it doesn't matter. Because all those pro players, all those people who are on organisations, they got to play a round of scrubs, a round of scrubs, a round of scrubs, a round of scrubs. The 3-0 the scrub, the 3-0 the scrub, the 3-0 the scrub, the 3-0 the scrub. And rinse and rinse and rinse until we get like down to the last 64. Might get interesting then. But more often than not, the last 32. Right? And they do that. And the reason they do that, because scrubs want the story. They want to say, you'll never guess, I played against this guy, and yeah, he 3-0'd me, but I was like close in the series. Support your locals, guys. Without that story, they have nothing. They are nothing. They're an unwashed, anime-obsessed degenerate. And so they have to have that story for their lives to mean something. And so, without that, so they will fight tooth and nail for any fucking progress whatsoever in their scene. And they have done it for years, and they've held back pros for years, and no one wants to sponsor a shit tournament where 90% of the fucking matchups are garbage. And I know, because I foolishly Because the first ever esports tournament I went to was a fighting games tournament. That's what hooked me into esports incredibly, if you can believe it. I did work with Electronic Dojo in the UK. When I was working at Amiga Sector, we ran what was, at the time, the biggest ever collection of fight games tournaments held simultaneously under one roof. We did that one year. Of course, none of that counts in the eyes of the FGC, you know, because fucking Ultra David doesn't fucking lick your ass or whatever. So that's what they want. That's what the FGC wants. And if you do anything that deviates from it, they say it's esports and they say it's bougie and they say you're a scumbag. Simple as that. They don't understand that you can have a wild card. They go, oh, but if it's invite only, then we would never have a Sonic Fox. How would you ever get new talent coming through? You have wild card entries. Simple as that. You run a scrub tournament. The winner of that scrub tournament gets lifted into a big tournament. Works totally fine. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I won't get to play the pros. You don't matter, you fucking idiot. I've never seen a scene where the scrubs will basically hold the entire scene back for their own pathetic, shallow egos and make all their pros. Literally, when I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was watching pros like at other like regular events, like on the circuit, and they were telling me that there was like 3-4 players sleeping on like a hotel floor. These are like the pros. They're equivalent to pros. We're all sleeping on floors together in hotel rooms, having a bed rota and all this stuff. And then they came to E-League and we treated them like every other esport. We gave them limos, we gave them goodie bags in the hotel, we put them up in a 5-star hotel, we gave them all of this, and they couldn't fucking believe it. And then it was like, they said they wanted it, they were like, well, man, we wish every tournament was like this. We love this so fucking much. It's why, by the way, you never heard outside of Sonic Fox, who called me alt-right and just made up a bunch of fucking nonsense about me for reasons I don't even understand to this day. You couldn't find any pros that said anything bad about me. You couldn't even find any of the casters that said anything bad about me except Ultra David, who snaked me immediately for fucking community clout, but that's just him, I guess. But like they all understood like what I was trying to do and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help the fucking scene out. And yet I'm still in their deep lore. Like, they still talk about me to this fucking day as if I was some harbinger of doom. That I was the great spectre of esports that was just destroying FGC. And it's like, guys, this model will work if you just give it a fucking chance. But they cannot be saved. And so to see Tosspot go, this is the era of fighting games, absolutely not. And never on my watch. Even if they got on board now, after everything they did to me, I would fight that to my dying breath. I would tell every investor the type of shit that goes on. I'll be linking them, by the way, to headlines. 50 Smash Pros accused of sex abuse. Like, yeah, okay, get in this scene, guys. Get in this. I'll link them to the head. You know, fucking at Evo, people getting their drugs, their drugs drinked. No, their drinks drugged. You know? Fucking go on, yeah, throw some money into this scene of fucking predators, yeah, go on then. Nah, never. Fuck the FGC. They're a bunch of, like, honestly, I've never known a scene like it. And it makes me sad, because I love so many of the pros. I'm, like, still friends with a bunch of them, still talk to a bunch of them. It's like, for fuck's sake. They're all fans of, you know, real esports. Anyway. So, Tosspot thinks we have another run with the FGC. Good luck with that. Wouter Slijfers, CEO of XL Esports. Brawl Stars. What's the big title? Brawl Stars. By the way, one of the things that's going to happen in 2023, mobile games. Everyone's going to pretend they love mobile games, and they love mobile games since the start. Mobile games are big. By the way, spoiler, mobile games are big. They've always been big. They've been big for years, but nobody ever gave them the credence are treating them like real esports, but they are now. Do you know why? Loads of money, not many overheads. In fact, is it Free Fire in Brazil? I can't remember. Anyway, there's one mobile game where they have whole tournaments for it, and it's basically not even played like officially on mobile. They play it on, like, PCs, essentially. They play it on, like, mobile emulators on computers. It's wild. Anyway, so it might not be Free Fire, but it's something like that. But anyway, so everyone's going to be sucking mobile dick in 2023 because there's loads of money in it. And it's got a huge fan base. And it's got a huge fan base in markets that will, like, you know, they'll cough up money for you to do it, like. So anyway, yeah. Brawl Stars. Or at least that's my wishful thinking, lol. I'd love to see one of the mobile competition games make a big impact on our region, as I believe that it should get more credit than what it gets now in Western esports. Otherwise, undoubtedly, we'll see more development in Valorant. Grant Zinn of Beast Course said it'll be exciting to watch the growth of Valorant in real time with their shift to partnership. There's always a learning curve with any new sport, but the strides they've made so far are impressive, and it'll be a great case study for what does and doesn't work when legitimizing a new esport. And of course, as an organization with a significant presence in the FGC, we're very hyped about Project L, no more fucking appropriate letter chosen, and can't wait to learn more. Fingers crossed for open beta in 2023. Of course, this is a marriage made in heaven. The Project L is Riot Games' fighting game using League of Legends characters from what I've seen in the early videos. So it's absolutely perfect. It's got your anime bullshit, which of course the FGC already love. It looks to be like just your standard fucking fare, like every other fighting game that's ever fucking existed. And it's Riot Games. And apparently, you know, what's mad is the FGC are super hyped. Okay, so remember, FGC, Richard Lewis is evil, and alt-right, and let's threaten to kill him, and let's actually seriously, credibly threaten to kill him repeatedly every time there's a tournament, to the point where E-League even offered me to not come in and not do the tournament. But like, I think by the second or third time it happened, they like literally said, like, do you just not want to do this? And I said, no, I've got a job to do. So I did it. So me bad, Riot Games monopolizing all of esports, so they'd have potentially the number one FPS, the number one MOBA, and the number one fighting game. There's no problems with this, is there? Riot Games have never done nothing bad, have they? Riot Games just, I mean, let me know, by the way, when I'm settling a $100 million lawsuit for women that I've harassed and abused. Let me know when I'm doing that, right? And then maybe you can, you know, threaten me and whatnot. But no, it's going to be good. The FGC are fully behind. You know, they're fully behind Riot Games. They're all super excited about it. Oh, can't wait. Interesting. Thought you didn't like esports, guys. Craig Levine, a.k.a. Torble from ESL, says, I think there's still a lot more development and growth to come from the mobile gaming space, with new games that will come to market, and top mobile esports will continue to evolve. From a participation standpoint, we think this is one of the most accessible platforms for esports. Our Snapdragon Pro Series saw massive participation and audience growth of 60% across our entire program, which is PUBG Mobile, Clash of Clans, and Brawl Stars. So there you go. Our Saudi esports overlords have decided mobile's going to be big in 2023 for reasons. Oh, and that's the end of that article. Wasn't that good? Wasn't that very insightful? Now, the other article that came out as well recently that I just loved was on DigiDay. I don't really read a lot of articles on DigiDay. That says, up top there, if I was to highlight it, it says the esports salary market is headed towards a correction. In the opening paragraph, the current economic downturn continues to expose the frailty of esports financial footing and critical need for reforms. Now, sky-high salaries for the best players, once deemed the cost of doing business for successful teams, is a cause for concern, and it's super interesting, isn't it? We just saw a player agent talking about how he wants better monetization from these teams and wants it to be a bit, you know, more spread out and more sustainable. And lo and behold, one of the things that's going to get squeezed out is the player salaries. Now, we've already seen this. We've already seen this in League of Legends. League of Legends salaries were so outrageously overinflated by the way, probably more than any other single fucking esport. The salaries in the LCS were mental. They were mental. You heard all the fucking stories. I even reported on some of these stories. The salaries were absolutely insane in League of Legends, particularly in the LCS. And why? It's just North American teams, just North American orgs doing what North American orgs do. We want this player. Okay, well, this player is wanted by several orgs. What do we have to pay to get the player we want? The player's asking for $3 million a year. Yeah, no problem. Not our money. Way lol. Meanwhile, over in Europe, we're going, what the fuck? That can't be sustainable. They can't be making that. And then we fast forward here. We're all part of the same bubble, but it's American team owners, American org owners with the fucking pin. Anyway, I'll go big head and read this. We haven't had big head for a while. It goes on to say, look at what happened to teams participating in the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League as examples. Teams reportedly owe around $400 million to publisher Activision Blizzard. And in case you're not aware of that, that was a report back in May by Jacob Wolf that revealed, remember all of those 20 million, 30 million franchise slots? Well, due to a combination of pandemic relief and all of this other stuff, that ain't been paid. That chicken ain't come home to roost yet. And whether it will or not, I mean, I don't know. I think it's not going to happen, personally. I don't see why you would at this point. In fact, I'd probably be wanting to sue Activision Blizzard, but that's just me. You sold me a lemon. We're watching VC investors check out and pull out entirely of this space, said Ryan Morrison. Remember him, the YouTube lawyer? CEO of talent management firm Evolve Talent. VCs expected team owners to do 10 times their business model, and they did that by paying absurd salaries to really good players to try and win and build their brand. But you can't 10 times an esports organization like that. So these owners are in place where they're now hemorrhaging money with no success. Esports teams agree to be successful, they need the best players. And because esports salaries operate according to an open market system, there is no unionization in esports leagues and thus no collective bargaining agreements determining what teams can spend. The only thing that limits a team's spending is its owner. Rich teams pay big for the players they want, which is destabilize salaries across the board because it boosts the expectation of players. Some Valorant pros are earning $40,000 per month, according to 2 current players with Tier 1 experience. And by the way, I've heard above that by a bit. And confirmed by an executive who has negotiated player contracts in Valorant. Many other players, some of which are now paying for newly partnered teams, and some not, are earning $20,000 and $40,000 per month. The average Valorant team consists of 5 players, and these costs start to add up fast. Now, I want you to think about that. Remember, by the way, when I said that the reason so many of these dog shit American players that had been mediocre at best in CS were suddenly moving to Valorant, was it because they loved the game? Was it because they wanted to be over there? No, it was because they could get onto a team further up the food chain and at the start of their journey be on the same, if not more money than they were in CS. There were players still being paid like $5,000 a month, which, by the way, to be a dogshit Counter-Strike player, I don't think that's bad. I'd take $5,000 a month to get fucking banged out of an ESEA cash cup in the first round, right? But slowly but surely, what started happening in Valorant? Same thing that happened in CS before it, same thing that happened in League of Legends. North American org owners started suddenly saying, well, that guy's got a big brand. They're not even particularly good at the game, but they got a big brand and they got a big reach. And I'd love to absolutely sign him. So, how's 10,000? Oh, it's a bidding war. We got 10,000 over there. We got 20,000 over there. 22, 25, 20. And before you fucking know it, here we are. An esport that hasn't even really been around for like 2 years. We've only just got to the partnered league stage, which, by the way, is accelerated in an esports development. No two ways about it. And we've already got American players on $40,000 a month. And that's only going up. It goes on to say, in 2020... and this is obviously not a North American deal, but still crazy money in my opinion. In 2020, League of Legends player Perks... this was when he went to Cloud9. My bad. In 2020, League of Legends player Perks agreed to more than $2 million per year for 3 years to be a Cloud9 player. And if you remember at the time, I know by the way, hasn't the Andrew Tate support really aged terribly, almost like I said it would? I remember Carlos, I think it was, like saying something about that deal at the time where it was like, listen, we're rich, but we're not stupid. It was something like that. I can't remember if it was Carlos, but it might have been something like $2 million a year for 3 years. Then Jensen agreed a 3-year, $4.2 million deal with Team Liquid. And Sword Art, the one I wrote about, and I saw documentation proving all of this, signed a 2-year, $6 million contract with TSM. Sword art. Each of these deals was in North America's LCS. Riot Games declined to comment for this story. Hal Bjargas, then the executive director of the NALCS Players Association, claimed the average yearly salary for players in the LCS, which is the top-tier League of Legends competition, remember, was more than $410,000 a year. That's the average. That's the average. That's brought down by every fucking scrub in the league that ain't making close to that. In 2021, LCS player salaries rose to their highest levels ever. So, think about this, right? Like, again, North American orgs just fucking up esports since day one. They get into their franchise league. They get their beloved guaranteed franchise league. Their owners get to run it like a fucking cartel, decide who's in, who's out, anyone that can financially compete with them, let's make up lies. Let's deploy Travis Gafford. Deploy Travis Gafford to say this guy's poaching with dubious evidence. Let's push Rick Fox out. Let's complain about his players having improper paperwork when all of ours do as well. So they get to run their little franchise league like it's a cartel anyway. They're in the good graces of fucking Riot Games. And yet they still keep paying more and more to have the least competitive region, even as the league shrinks and gets smaller and smaller and smaller. How fucking crazy is that? It then just goes on to say what you already know. Unlike traditional sports teams, esports teams, many of which spend around 100,000% of their turnover on player salaries, they have no media rights revenue to cash in on. Nor do they have the strong bases needed to make money from merchandise sales and sponsorships. More often than not, these teams turn to offering white label production services, selling streetwear, and ramping up content creation to make money. Yes, that's right, you heard it. White label production, in case you don't know if something's a white label, it's basically where you produce something on behalf of someone else and your branding isn't anywhere on it. People don't know you're producing it. It's this person's show, this person's product. And so all of these, remember everything I was talking about earlier with Valorant and how orgs were basically running these tournaments to try and get in Riot's good graces, maybe make a little bit of money and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because they all have production services, because they have to sell them to other people, other unsuspecting people. Then, I love this. Devin Nash, our boy, Twitch CEO. I haven't talked to Devin in a while. Said the objective failure of the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League has led investors to get more intelligent about esports investment. Oh no, they got more intelligent. We got problems because it's all been a scam since the start. From their standpoint, they already know that this is not the play they first thought it was. And so, yeah, the market correction's coming. It's 100% coming. It's inevitable. I was telling people in 2020, you could have listened, you could have battened down the hatches, but no, this is it. This is the fucking year. This is the year of the loser. This is where it's all gonna come tumbling down. I can't wait to see who's gonna make it. I love the quote. I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite quotes. Warren Buffett. It's only when the tide goes out you see who's been swimming naked, and we're gonna find out. We're going to find out who's been swimming naked. We're going to find out who talks a good game and who actually has enough money, enough business acumen, enough sustainability to make it through. Now, it's interesting because we've already seen... This is just a little tangential thing I'll add on. Pay close attention to these developments. And this is this story here. Fnatic. Now, Fnatic by no means... are big spenders. By no means do they have lots of money. In fact, they are, for me, they're sort of a good example, bar some of the ways they interacted with their fucking crazy fans and everything recently. But they're sort of a good example of how sometimes you just got to duck and weave, and this industry will kick the shit out of you if you let it. But you duck and weave, and you survive. Not many esports organizations have managed to maintain, since the old days. In fact, this is just reminding me of something hilarious I saw today as well that I'll add on to this. So I've got respect for Fnatic, even though I don't think Sam Matthews and those guys think I do. I absolutely do. Fnatic, for me, This is probably the type of brand I would have run if I'd stuck at running my own brand. I used to have my own brand. It used to be called Excite UK. It was a old school Counter-Strike team where I met one of the players. It was just a team. And so I basically said, I like that brand. I'll pay you a little bit of money. What do you agree is fair? Gave them, like, I don't know, $1,000 to use a brand, then registered. Well, the registration's probably lapsed now. Well, I've never renewed it, so it definitely has. And, you know, we came up with a community. We came up with these ideas where everyone had, like, the Excite logo, but depending on where you were from, if you sent it into our artists where you were from, we'd make you a custom bespoke logo and you can put it in your Steam profile. And I still see motherfuckers with the Excite UK Steam profile, like, things today. And this is like, I don't know, it was like 2009, maybe earlier. It was after CGS died, anyway. If I'd have stuck with it, it would have been like this. It would have been like Fnatic. It would have been like a budget thing. They've not always been competitive in esports, but the one thing they've always been smart at doing, they've never put themselves in a position, except that one time we had them having to loan money from G2, essentially, another story I revealed, and having to borrow money, and basically if they defaulted on the loan, G2 would have owned the Fnatic brand. Apart from that situation, they'd been mostly responsible with their spending. So yeah, I like them, but this is kind of the state of play we're at now, is the point I'm getting to. They've released their academy roster, and it's like Fnatic Rising, they weren't a bad team, you know, and they were regulars in the We Play League. I'm keeping an eye on this because I think this is going to be we've done so well with the We Play League, growing that, having academy teams come back into the space. Remember, academy teams, everyone got super nervous and cut them back in like 2016 when all the conflict of interest stuff about having multiple teams came out, because there wasn't an academy league. There wasn't specific areas you could put your academy team in. So there was no point in having them. It was just an expense. It was just a second team. It was 5 fucking players that you were just paying money to. And so people got rid of them. And then they came back and the We Play League started, and suddenly it was worthwhile, and we had all those cool stories, and it has paid off. It's paid off collectively for the scene. Think about all the talent we're seeing now get airlifted, all of it seemingly owned at one point by Na'Vi, but think of all the talent we're seeing getting airlifted into tier 1 teams. You know, Headtrix was tearing the We Play League, and you arsehole. He's going to Nip. Obviously, you've got Regali, Bit, cut his teeth playing for the Na'Vi Academy side as well. You know, like the Munisi, Torzi. Yeah, thank you in chat. Thank you, Avi. So, you know, it's like it was paying dividends in terms of creating talent. And the upside of that is, if you actually develop talent, you don't have to pay those types of inflated, exorbitant salaries we were just talking about. You get to grow organically with the player. And so unfortunately, yeah, it's been pretty fucked up this year, and well, last year, the end of last year, and it's going to be fucked up this year too. And I think academy side's going to suffer. I think if I was a betting man again, you're going to see academy teams get cut, and the We Play League might struggle as a result. But this will make you laugh. We'll go back, we'll do some comedy. Here's some comedy. You all love comedy. It's the reason you tune into my streams. Not only do I educate and enlighten and tell you about the state of esports, I give it to you in a way that makes you laugh and makes you chuckle. So, because I'm always ahead of the game, I've been talking about this since 2020, on and off to 2021, and started 2023 by really giving it to people raw, the information that is. All right, we'll skip over that. Everyone's playing catch up and now talking about, oh, we got problems in esports. I've been telling you for fucking 2 years. So anyway, Nip decided they would chime in, and this was the COO of Nip, Jonas Gunderson. This is the Jonas Gunderson talking about, you know, he was the guy at the heart of the NIP sticker story, if you remember that, you know, and I published that one last year. Basically, for those that don't know, NIP obviously signed a player that was a lot of money, and then they didn't get the return they wanted, and then they had to sign another one, and then all of a sudden it was like there was this whole thing about the aborted Rio major sticker pods for the RMR for that event that never happened, and I did an article on it because basically some of the players, including Nork, who was just no longer at the organization, they were owed something like $300,000 or something, like in fucking sticker money, that NIP were absolutely adamant and had said privately and communicated to the players that no, Valve intended that money to come to us. Yet no other org I talked to believed that to be the case. So NIP, they're going to chime in. They're going to chime in about problems in esports. Oh, brilliant. Can't wait. Do tell me more. Nothing in PayPal. This is what Jonas said. The future of esports isn't about entertainment and lifestyle. It's about competition itself and building sustainable infrastructure around it. It's easy to build sustainable infrastructure, isn't it? Remember, by the way, the other thing you need to remember before I read this thing, not just the one on screen now, it's a two-part LinkedIn post. Classic LinkedIn grift bullshit. Everyone just goes, yeah, well said, Jonas. No one's going to correct him. I might reply. He'll fucking block me probably, but whatever. The other thing you need to remember is NIP. Has there been an organization in recent years in CSGO that has been linked with more financial scandal? Don't know. Probably not, is my gut feeling, but I might be like forgetting something. You know when you tunnel in on a point and sometimes you forget things. I think it's NIP. So the fact that they've got the sheer fucking hubris to talk about it blows my mind. So anyway, don't get me wrong, esports competitions are incredibly entertaining. But before we run towards the mainstream entertainment landscape and compete for attention versus the Kim Kardashians and Ronaldos of the world, he's using the attention economy concept I talk about a lot, we need to walk the walk of a thriving and sustainable competitive ecosystem built to last and not just a propped up venture market. Esports is still in its very infancy. I love hearing this, by the way. I love hearing that this industry that started, realistically in 1998, but probably even, you can have an argument about what the true birth of esports is. I started a book. One day it'll get published, probably, maybe, about all of this. You can decide when it truly starts, but I think, honestly, the whole high score movement and twin galaxies and all of that stuff, I think that for me is a realistic, the birth of competitive gaming. Maybe esports is something different to competitive gaming, but the kernel of what esports is part of the high score, twin galaxy, world record, speed run attempt thing. It comes out of all of that. But I'm sick of hearing we're in our infancy. We're no more in our infancy than you wouldn't say the internet is in its infancy. Well, we've grown parallel with it. We're side by side with it. So we're not in our infancy. We're maybe in our difficult teenage years, but we're definitely not in our infancy. The only reason you could even say that is if you were trying to obfuscate the reality, which is we could be further along than we were if it wasn't for dickheads and greedheads and fucking money-grubbing arseholes, organisations that want it to be me, and I want to get rich because I put 10 years into something and I'm entitled. Anyway, esports is still in its very infancy, and as it continues to grow and evolve, it will become more and more competitive. The best players in the world will rise even further at the top, and as they continue to redefine what actual top performance looks like, the competition will only get more challenging in every aspect. The success of esports as an iconic player in the competitive entertainment landscape relies on us being able to build a true legacy, telling the stories of players and teams, breaking records, paving new ground. It broke new ground! Leading a true fandom of people that went above and beyond what others couldn't. The whole wave of content creators, influencers, lifestyle brands, media house approaches, and whatnot are all incredibly relevant things to fully integrate into your esports organization. And a few are doing that to some extent, but as we've learned through the past 2 years, there is a long way to go for mainstream market adoption and belief in these different business models translating directly into the success of the overarching franchise. While it's easy to make a case for synergy effects and economy of scale in bridging these different areas, it's an exercise that's incredibly hard to succeed in from a business integration perspective. Ultimately, gapping too wide and doing 10 initiatives at 70% rather than 3 things to 95% in such a new market only works if severely backed by high-risk investment capital for a very long time. However, the influx of capital has slowed down severely. Yes, that phrase again. The world is now watching us closely, wondering if we can come together and develop the infrastructure needed to go 100 years, making esports a true investment-worthy opportunity. Now, I like that they're talking about, how it's important to not do multiple initiatives and tunnel in, and capital has slowed down, and the world is watching everybody closely. So it's super important to develop sustainable infrastructure so you can go 100 years into the future and really add value so people can come along and invest in esports. I definitely feel that, and I think NIP are definitely going to be the ones to really lead the way on that. Because, they really have a good handle on what's got sustainability and longevity, and they wouldn't just take easy money that offers zero value to their fans. They would never do that. They're only interested in sustainable income. 2023 and 2024 are some of the most vital years of esports ever, and it's incredibly exciting to be right in the middle of it, showing the world that we fully believe in proving to everyone that we will stand the test of time. Now, it wouldn't be a statement from a member of the NIP management if it wasn't filled with some lies. Credit to Jonas. He's done very well to only obfuscate the truth. But let's just read this last part. This is on LinkedIn, so this is to misrepresent the success of NIP to all of the grifters and the losers that congregate on LinkedIn. I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn. I'm going to start posting my podcast on LinkedIn. I'm going to start posting the esports gospel and see how many dickheads can share it and get upset by it. I'm going to do it. Why not? Anyway, Ninjas in Pajamas have stood for 20 years. And we've spent many years committed to a strategy of robustness, believing it is how we'll be ready to thrive for 100 years more, continuously fighting to lift the most significant trophies on the planet. Now, can anyone see the problem with that statement? Anyone? We can have a little moment. Richard's getting tired. We can chill. Let it sit. Another, very good point, actually. Thomas Blomkal, who probably is a despairing Swedish fan with that name. Very good point. Yes, the device transfer wasn't very sustainable, was it? Wasn't very sustainable or robust, was it? No, you're right. You have nailed that. But, yes, they claim to have stood for 20 years. And obviously, if you know your history, which is the Everton song. But if you do know your history, they haven't stood for 20 years in any conceivable way. In fact, yes, they were around in the year 2000. They ran from 2000 to 2007. They ran to varying degrees of professionalism during that time. Seem to remember in 2005, there was some sort of contract dispute and they ended up losing some big name players. That was again, very early on in my esports education, but it was a big deal at the time. And then they went under in 2007. They went under. They stopped doing anything. And then there was a 5-year hiatus. And then at the start of CSGO in 2012, they did a deal with the Swedish internet company, and they basically were able to professionalize ahead of everyone else. Telia, that was it. Thank you. And they did a deal, and they were able to professionalize ahead of everyone else in 2012. Now, are the owners from 2012 the same owners now? No. In fact, no. The organization has had something like 3 significant financial restructurings. As I've already said, it has been mired in scandal, including not paying money to the legendary core, the core that made Ninjas in Pajamas in CSGO on their relaunch. There was tax issues with Heaton. If you remember, there was the other owner that fled to Thailand, and then obviously you get your boy Hitchum and all of the rest of the crew and everything else, right? So yes, it's all bullshit. They haven't stood for 20 years at all. In fact, I don't even think they're the same registered company anymore that they were when they came back in 2012. So it's absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Yeah, and obviously I haven't forgotten about what they did in League of Legends either. That absolute unmitigated disaster. Nip has not been a model you want to follow in esports by any stretch of your imagination or stretch of anything else for that matter. No, Ninjas in Pajamas are actually an example of how to do everything wrong and pass on the hurt and the pain of your managerial incompetence to anyone but yourself. So, that's the state of esports. That brings you up to date with what an outrageous, horrible, nightmarish shit show it all is.